Previously on 70 Acres Studio.
First block. Let me go give it a good pressing and I will come back. Okay, I have the 10-inch background, and what I've done is I've ironed some creases in it. I folded it in half and then in half again, and the same this way, so that I just have a few guidelines. If it's wonky, don't worry about it. I think that if I have them about 3/4 of an inch apart, that will look good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew about 1/4 inch from the edge down here, just to hold these down, and then we can start the weaving process and the sewing process. Okay, they are all held down now, and I do want the white background to poke through, so I'm not sewing them as tightly as I did for the fidget quilt. If you all are the praying type, I would surely appreciate it if you would add my dearest friend, Mrs. Edgar, Joyce Edgar, to your prayer list. She, 85. Out of all of the people on this planet, if I could have picked a mom, it would have been her. I spent most of my life growing up in her house. I think from the time that I was about 4 or 5 years old. I think I was about 4 years old. My dad used to meet her across the street from each other, and they used to cross me back and forth, and I used to go over to Mrs. Edgar's house. And she taught me how to cook. She taught me how to knit. She taught me how to crochet. She taught me some sewing, some quilting. I think she's 85, and she has fallen and broken her hip. She's had surgery to replace the joint, and she is thankfully recovering at home. So if you could all just keep her in your prayer list, I would certainly appreciate it. Okay, so we're sticking that in there, and now we're flipping this back up. And now the next thing we do is we flip down the other side. And you get quite a pile of scraps that you can use from the flower blocks, so don't toss those. Okay, so now this one, again, I don't want them to be snapped, right down on top of each other. I'm going to give them about 3/4 of an inch spacing, and I think I will stop at this point, and I will sew along here and along here to get them secured so they don't slip and slide all over. I did switch back to my 1/4 inch foot, and I'm going to go right down the centers of these. Okay, do the next one. And I'm not stretching the fabric when I have my hands down here. I'm just making it taut. Not stretching, just holding it taut. There we go. And now we just continue. Okay, so there is our alternate block. Everything is sewn down, not going to go anywhere, and it should fray up nicely. Okay, I wanted to jump back in here and let you know something that I found. I found that if I started the inner sewing line in here first and then the outer line, I got a much flatter block. So this one, I don't think there are any issues at all. This is most definitely 10-inch square. Yes, no problem whatsoever. This is 10-inch square. There was very, very little loss or take up in this block sewn in this way. So that's what I did. I sewed down the first piece on the inside first, and then did the outer seam. And then I came in and I did the inner seam here on this piece, and then the outer, and then I sewed in the center. And I have a much flatter block. There's no puckering or anything. Alrighty there, YouTube. I have all the blocks done, and I've been trying to math, and it's not been going well. So here we are. We have 4 rows of 3 blocks each. This is going to be a small quilt. It's going to be small. Let's see. It's going to be 39 and a quarter inches wide by 5, 10, 12 and a half by 51 and a half inches tall. So it's going to be basically a newborn size. And I have my sashing here all cut. So my sashings are 2.5 inches wide, and I am planning on sewing I think 1 strip down the center of each to give the sashing a wee bit of fuzz. So we're going to take the first row and sew them together. There's the second block. I did trim all the blocks down to 9 3/4. It's a little bit of an oddball size, but that's okay. I prefer to make a quilt the way I want to make the quilt, and it turns out to be whatever size it is. Why lock something into a specific use? You know, this might be a great size for a bassinet or for a stroller or to lay down on the grass. That's the way I like to roll. So I had an adventure today. I had to chase one of my roosters down. I had to chase Junior down. I was getting ready to put them to bed, and I decided to let them run around the yard for a little while. And I have something called the white stick of doom that my husband and I used to use in New York for the New York chickens. And it's basically a 8-foot tall piece of white PVC piping. And for some reason, the chickens in New York, anytime they saw that, they started marching like soldiers back into their run. And he brought it down here when he brought the New York girls down here. And I picked it up the first time, and they all marched right into the coop. So I let them out on occasion when I'm not too exhausted, and I let them roam around the yard for a while I am filling their food and their water and clearing the door so it will close. and Junior escaped. He took off and he ran back into the woods behind the chicken coop. And I am not up to chasing him through the woods. Can't do it. So he evaded the white stick of doom. He's still afraid of it, but he avoided it. So I had to go back in the house and just chill and say, okay, if that's the way he wants to go, then that's the way he's gonna go. And I kept coming back outside to see if he had gone back into the run. And just before dark, I noticed that he was in the run, so I ran out there. Run. No, I waddled out there and closed the run, and then I was able to use the white stick of doom to corral him back into the coop. And then he proceeded to crow for half an hour. So he's not a former rooster. He's still around. That is the first row. I just love these colors. These are my favorite colors. I like the bright tropical colors. So now that I've told you my story about my crazy rooster Junior, I can fast forward through the rest of this and I'll show you the quilt when it's up on the wall. Okay, let me get this up on the design wall. Okay there, YouTube. Here is the top all done. I'll come in so you can get a close-up. As soon as I have the quilt top sandwiched to the batting and the backing, I will come back and we will give this thing a good quilting. I'll see you soon.
Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy.